about the number of UFO sightings? Do you think they're understated? I mean, does every one get reported?
When I speak to various crowds, I'll do Stanton Friedman was a famous ufologist, and he used to do this. I'll ask people, how many of you have seen a UFO? And you'll see all these people raise their hands up in the crowd. And then I'll say, how many of you reported seeing a UFO? And you watch the hands all go back down. So, but we are there. You can, if you see something and it looks out of place, it doesn't look like something prosaic, you can go to MUFON.com, and it says right there on the website, report a UFO. And myself or another investigator, we have people we work regionally. So if you're in the California area, I will see your report. But you can report a UFO, and that's really where the rubber meets the road for us, because other than that, it's just a good story, right? But if you report it, it'll actually be investigated, and we will, if we can't figure out what that was, it will get the unknown status, which means it's a UFO. I'm not saying it's a spaceship, but maybe it is. It's an unknown,
Does the same sighting get reported by different people, and do you get the same descriptions coming up over and over again?
Yes, we do. I get a lot of black triangular UFO sightings out here. They seem to, now there's a question whether perhaps we've reverse engineered some of the technology that we have found, because there have been reported UFO crashes. And the Army is taking this very, very seriously. Both the Navy and the Army have both changed the parameters of reporting UFOs. They're encouraging it now. And apparently there's materials. Bigelow Aerospace apparently has some materials from UFO crashes that they're putting through, scientific, trying to figure them out. Reverse engineering work that they're doing, figuring out the metallurgy. One thing that I've heard is that what they found is that that some of the materials that they've gotten couldn't be created where there was gravity. It would have had to have been created in outer space, technically. So, but anyway, there's a lot of interest out there in officialdom right now. It's really changed from the way it used to.
And I was going to ask that. I mean, is there somewhat of a UFO epidemic on at the moment?
There are a lot of sightings now. Whether people are just feeling more comfortable in reporting what they've seen, or there's actually a ramp up in sightings is questionable to me. I think that people have been seeing UFOs for a long, long time. It's just okay to report them now because it's on the news,
Who are your most credible witnesses? I mean, I don't want to denigrate anyone's particular account of what they saw, but do you find that policemen, pilots, people involved in the military, that kind of profession are very credible?
That certainly adds credence to a case. I mean, we were talking about black triangles. I've had people that were very high up in the aerospace community who have gone on record and said, hey, 3 o'clock in the morning, I was near the Lockheed plant and I saw this thing, it's perfectly silent, a black triangle. And those might be our own, but they haven't told us that they've figured out how to defy gravity yet. So it is still a UFO. It's an unknown. Yeah. And I recently had a highly decorated police officer who saw one that was hovering near the end of the Bakersfield Airport runway late at night, perfectly silent. And the black triangles are interesting because they seem manufactured. They all sort of look alike. This police officer mentioned seeing vents on the side of this thing. And one of my aerospace guys, he mentioned the exact same features. So people are seeing the same things, they're reporting them, and absolutely, if it's a police officer, somebody that was in the Air Force or the aerospace industry, we definitely take that into account.
Well, we've had a couple of presidents in the last 40 or so years that have reported seeing UFOs.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter, Reagan,
Yeah.
he had a couple of UFO sightings. One was apparently up close and personal. Yes, absolutely. And you have to think about that.
Have you got a couple of cases that are your favorites, perhaps more startling than the others?
Certainly. Well, I was telling you a bit about the Azusa UFO sighting, and that's one of my favorites. There's another case that I have. Well, I work with the Experiencer research team, and we specialize in alien contact cases. And I have one case that is just the case that just keeps on giving. I've been investigating it for 4 years now. I mean, I closed it, but no UFO case is ever truly closed. And especially when, this gentleman, I can't give you his name. We call him Andy when I talk about him on the radio or television or something. But he's a high up agent in Homeland Security, and he's had visitation since he was 7 years old. Oh, we hear that number a lot. People that are abductees or are visited. It usually begins at an early age. 7 years old is a number that I hear time and time again. But when this guy was a kid, his parents thought he was having night terrors, but he was seeing these beings that would come into his room. One looked sort of like the proverbial gray aliens that you see with the black eyes and stuff, but had kind of tan colored skin. And they would fly this machinery into his room. He would be paralyzed on his bed, and they would do experiments on him. And when he was a child, once they would leave, he would start screaming, and he would keep telling the same story. The thing is that his parents eventually started seeing lights, and they started seeing strange stuff that was around his what they thought were night terrors. Well, this went on for many, many years. It continues to this day. He wound up giving his entities names. He called the one that would bring the machinery in a Noisy. The other one he called Ho. He made these names up when he was a child. Well, now he's in his late 40s. He has a child of his own. Very highly respected gentleman. And he still gets the visits now, and it's the same entities that were visiting him as a child. That case is very, very interesting to me, especially because his wife confirms that this has been happening. His daughter and his wife, which is kind of matter of fact. This is Dad's life. This is our life, and that's a case that I appreciate.